Hello, and welcome to Weed and Grub.
Let's start with the celebration.
Yeah. Okay.
Go to my Instagram account at GlazerBoohooHoo, enter a contest that we are doing with Lake Grade, win a bunch of dope apparel, win a $100 Ease gift card, or if you live in LA, to Sweet Flower Dispensaries.
We've got socks, we've got t-shirts, we've got hats, we've got a water bottle, we've got a stash jar to give away, plus that 100% or $100 credit.
100% of $100 goes to you.
Yeah, at Ease or Sweet Flower. It's a fucking great giveaway.
It is. And again, we've got socks. No, I'm just repeating it because you repeated exactly what I said.
We've got hats, we've got t-shirts, we've got a water bottle. And
The
it's
water
great.
bottle's Nangine. I think I'm pronouncing it right.
Nangine.
So go to GlazerBoohooHoo, follow the grid post. I'm wearing a hockey mask that, if you are wondering, it is my very first goalie mask that I did wear in church parking lots in elementary school to learn how to become a really good goalie.
That's right.
Shout out to Mrs. Bilger, my art teacher, who drew the lightning bolts on it.
Nice.
And shout out to Mary Jane's feet that she put into some crazy symmetrical positions to get the right shoot. So,
I was trying to make them look cute for the IG, and the reason that post is at GlazerBoohooHoo is because at Weed and Grub is under review evidently because Instagram fucking sucks, and we have a backup account at Weed and Grub Pod for you to check out right now. We are working on getting Weed and Grub back, but why not have two?
Why not have two?
Why not
I'm
both?
talking with Anonymous. I'm talking with Angelina Jolie from Hackers.
Yep.
I'm also talking to who played Shaggy in Scooby-Doo? Matthew Lillard. I'm talking to Matthew Lillard, who
Okay,
was
great.
also in Hackers.
I put in a call to Johnny Depp just because why not? I figure he's taking calls nowadays, right?
Yeah, he's got
What else
time.
is he doing?
He's doing a cologne ad where he carries a shovel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
That's
so
about it.
strange. Well, hopefully he can help us get our IG back. What's up, Johnny?
Yeah.
Come on the podcast. You know you want to.
I would have a good time with him on the pod.
Who wouldn't? You know?
Yeah.
We could talk about all sorts of crazy shit.
Well, let's move on to other things.
All right.
What up, Mary Jane?
How's it going, Mike?
Good. Welcome to our podcast, everyone. This is a podcast about comedy,
Cannabis,
cooking,
culture,
calling shit out.
and social media being assholes.
Wow.
Or more than that, it's not about that. It's about great guests and a good time. But I just had to get that out because I'm feeling a little hot under the collar.
Yeah?
Yeah, a little hot.
This is a spicy weed and grub,
A
eh?
little spicy. Yeah.
Spicy in terms of recipes and books coming out, and spicy in terms of you just feeling a little prickly.
I was feeling a little fucking prickly. Well, Mercury was in retrograde until yesterday, and I never pay attention to that stuff, but maybe it makes a little bit of sense that things have felt a little wonk, whittle.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't.
I know you can't.
It just takes free will away for me.
Right.
The idea of the everlasting, unknown, ever expansive, we don't know anything about it space
Right.
is why my bed broke and
Yeah.
I got a ticket, you know?
I do like that you have that whole fucking bit.
I'll do it on here. I'm
Yeah.
shameless.
Yeah, let's hear
It's
it.
just the idea that if you don't believe in science, there's a division between mysticism and science right now.
Yes.
And mysticism means you want me to blame space for everything,
Sure.
and other people are like, science doesn't exist. And my whole point is, we will never imagine if Joe Biden was asked about the 700,000 tragic deaths that are due from fucking COVID, and his response was like, fucking Virgos, man. You know,
Right.
it's how Mercury gets sometimes.
Shit wasn't aligned.
Yeah, dude. And
Yeah.
so that's the point of the joke. And I just find the idea of Mercury in retrograde, I can't give it too much credence because it takes away from my ability to make choices.
Sure. But I think, you and I had this conversation very high one night, so I don't know if I'm going to remember all of it correctly, but I remember laughing really hard about it because you were taking that stance as you were working on that bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, but something like the Farmer's Almanac, which actually is the sun and the moon and the stars and the seasons and is in touch with the rotation of the earth and all those pagan ideas of being in touch with nature and believing that you can forecast what's to come because you are actually paying attention to the sun and the moon and the stars, can fucking predict very fucking accurately when you should plant shit and when you should harvest shit and like how your apples are going to be that year. So how do you like them fucking apples? And that shit's based on space.
I love that, but my pushback against that is that is science.
Right.
That is like using the sun and the moon and the stars to understand soil nutrition and
true.
how to grow things scientifically.
But it's by paying attention to the sun and the moon and the stars.
Right. But Mercury in retrograde is always an explanation for like bad shit happening.
Right.
And there's like
like you got a parking ticket because Mercury's in retrograde.
So like I need Mercury science that will show me the data the same way that if you plant this crop in August,
right,
it will be popping the most.
Right. Like what actually is the science behind Mercury being in retrograde? What doesn't, like what is proof? What's the data?
Yes.
What actually doesn't work? Because we all know, yeah, for sure, especially in a place like Los Angeles where you're like, fuck, I just, like...
I'm all for manifestation.
Yep.
I have a vision board. We make them every year.
Looking at my vision board right now.
You got me an amazing candle about manifesting your dreams.
I'm
all about it, but I also have never seen anyone win an Oscar and be like, I'd like to thank the House of Intuition for giving me the tools to create an award-winning performance. It's always bad shit that is blamed on space, and nobody is ever celebrating the wins of your amethyst in your pocket the way that they are the lows.
But you better believe when they go home, they go to their altar and they're like, thank you, blood amethyst.
Oh, I bet you are right.
Thank you, Illuminati, or whatever it is.
I really hope so. I hope so, because I would do that too.
Yeah. They're thanking
I'm
the
not
occult when they
against
go
it.
home, Mike. They're going into their weird dark room that's like 50 degrees and they're thanking whatever cult they belong to that got them that Oscar.
They're wearing a fucking owl head and then going to whatever that park is where the government hangs out every year to decide all of our fates.
That's right.
Yeah, I bet that's the thing is like, if I were to real get deep, I would be like, the Illuminati created Mercury in retrograde to
control us all.
Control us all.
Oh man, it's such a funny, like, weird thing now too, that like the sort of like the hippie movement and the people who were the most connected to Earth are now weirdly in this pandemic time, they're the like aligning themselves with the anti-vax community, and all of these sort of like anti-vax, live off the land survivalists are taking over a lot of the mantle of that free thinking hippie movement in the 60s that I do find so much in common with. And it's just this weird new evolution. It's fascinating. There are all of these op-ed pieces about it that explain it super in depth. And
that's really interesting as like people and propaganda try and take down the idea of stoner culture. Mm-hmm. But then you can immediately just like Mad Lib that vibe into something that's happening today that is being celebrated and touted as actual fact. Very fucking fascinating. Wow. We are good at this.
I'm so excited about this episode because we had such a great conversation with our incredible guests, Matt and Michelle from Bad Manners, and I want to kind of get to it because it was such a cool convo.
Oh, okay. Well, let's dive right into the news.
Yeah, let's get our news segment presented by OCB.
Ooh, it's a spooktacular ad read. You ready?
Yes.
The Grublik Gazette is presented by OCB Rolling Papers, the largest rolling paper brand in the world, crafted naturally since 1918.
OCB offers a full line of plant-to-puff papers made with sustainable fibers farmed from within a 500-kilometer radius of their facility in France, which is powered by 100% green energy.
In 2020, OCB rolled out America's first ultra-thin, slow-burning bamboo rolling paper and cone. They're even-burning, no-tear, GMO-free, and vegan.
Not all rolling papers are created equal. OCB offers a premium smoking experience that we call Harmony on High.
Or this month, Harmony on Horror.
Did you say horror or horror?
Horror.
Horror.
Ask for OCB wherever you buy your papers and sample the entire line of products. Plus, visit OCBUSA.com and follow OCB on Instagram at OCB_USA.
If you like our pod, please support the people who like us and go check out OCB. They've got great gifts for your whole fam for Christmas.
Absolutely. And if you live in a place where you can get OCB rolling papers, it's spooky hayride season. I want nothing more than to pack a OCB cone with a little little bit of a flower, and then go on a haunted hayride.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
What a perfect thing to do. Well, our news story is terrifying in keeping with our spooky Halloween episode.
Yeah, is this my go?
Yes.
All right. So our news story this week is brought to you by MarijuanaMoment.net, a fantastic place to get news in the cannabis space. And our news story is that Bank of America canceled the account of a marijuana and psychedelic research institute that is registered with the DEA.
Whoa.
Yo, okay, diving in. The second largest bank in the U.S. is shutting down the account of research institutes that are federally authorized.
It's one research institute, correct? A research institute?
A research institute.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going on like a...
Every research institute, fuck you.
We're taking down the institute community.
If you're an institute that researches things, you can no longer bank with us.
Their new commercial is...
Just driving around with a megaphone. Fuck you, researchers. So Bank of America, I'm so sorry.
They shut down a cultivation they shut down a research institute that is federally authorized to cultivate and study Schedule I substances like marijuana and psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah.
And on top of that, so the name of the research institute is Scottsdale Research Institute, or SRI. And they just got a letter out of nowhere that just said, after careful review of your banking relationship, this action is final and will not be reconsidered.
Just shutting it the fuck down.
Shut it down.
With like a month's notice, right?
Yeah, and after 10 years of banking with them in full transparency, as they've been working with these government agencies to do what the government agency is asking of them. So I guess are like banks private corporations that can just like take a scythe to anybody that they choose like that? Because that's terrifying.
They're for-profit entities that are run by, fucking assholes.
Well, this place is the SRI Institute is by Sue Sisley, that you have a little bit of background on.
So I interviewed Dr. Sue Sisley, who runs the Scottsdale Research Institute a few years ago. She's a fascinating researcher and doctor who was one of the first clinical researchers to be granted access to study medical marijuana by the U.S. government. And the Scottsdale Research Institute is a clinical trial site that is currently running a phase 2 study of 4 different varieties of smoked cannabis for veterans with PTSD. So Dr. Sisley does a lot of work with the veterans community, with groups like Weed for Warriors, and she's just an amazing person who, her background is that she was actually fired from the University of Arizona for, they didn't really say why, but it was, ostensibly for her weed research.
Yeah.
And she was granted National Institute on Drug Abuse approval to study marijuana use to treat PTSD in 2014. So she was the first researcher in the United States to be granted this access. And it's just truly shocking that the Bank of America would dare to take this stance, because they're on the very wrong side of history at a very strange time when, cannabis is progressing in almost every way definitely toward more clinical research and more data. I mean, it's just really strange and backwards of them. So I'm just wondering, what's going on at the upper echelons there at Bank of America?
Oh, well, their CEO is, let me find the quote, Satan.
Oh,
and yeah. Well,
just doesn't want any research done into how this plant can help treat PTSD for veterans.
Right.
Right.
I can make up a bunch of different scenarios where Bank of America made this choice, but at the end of the day, Sue and SRI both said, a bunch of banking institutes have reached out. We are going to move on. And we have contacted the DEA to let them know what is going on. And we've also contacted the FDA to let them know what is going on.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's an inconvenient hiccup for a larger goal, which is to research things like mushrooms and weed and
As
get
medicine.
them out there as medicine. So a Bank of America move like this may slow things down, but it's not going to stop anyone from being on the right side of this fight.
It's certainly not. And I'm so glad that Dr. Sisley and the SRI put Bank of America on blast and that Marijuana Moment has published this story, because it's just ridiculous. And I think that, that's what we all have to keep doing if we're getting shut down. Anyone in the cannabis community, keep shouting about it, keep tweeting about it, keep using whatever platform it is that you have access to get your voice out there. If it's a blog or a newsletter, or currently I'm a big fan of Twitter because they're not shutting down cannabis content like some other goddamn social platforms are. So yeah, just keep shouting about it, keep using our voices, and we will get there. I mean, with the tide has been turning for a very long time, and now we can feel it rushing towards this new era in which we will have access to plant medicine as a civilization, and we just can't let the control fall into the wrong hands, like Satan and the Bank of America.
Yeah, that's it. 100%. There was something else I was going to say, but I don't remember. But I do, but I don't. Do I
Wait,
remember it?
maybe.
Oh, yes, I do.
Great.
It's that we were going to do a Patreon splainer kind of about banking and how that falls into the landscape of cannabis right now. So maybe this is high time to do that because so many dispensaries aren't allowed to do banking, and it's like a cash game, and that gets dangerous. It's a very sticky situation right now because it's not federally decrim. So
Yeah, and it leaves a lot of those small businesses as sitting ducks for, targeted robberies. Like a lot of dispensaries were looted during the undercover of the protests last year, during the, after George Floyd's murder and the Black Lives Matter protests were like sweeping the nation. There were several dispensaries that were hit during that time, and it was pretty gross because law enforcement was trying to blame rioters and was like, no, this isn't rioters. These are actually people who have been watching these businesses amass a lot of cash and not have anywhere to be able to put them because they can't safely bank, and they know it, and they take advantage of these situations. So we should be able to protect these small businesses and these dispensaries and people like Ron Leggett, who came on to talk about how he lost everything in one of those robberies. And it's just important. Safe banking is important. Research is important. Bank of America, go fuck yourself.
as someone with Bank of America, I'm going to say right here, right now, that I'm taking my $18.16 and I am moving it to Chase.
Chase. Chase is terrible. Remember, they closed my account because Donald Trump's $1,200 check bounced, which we actually talk about with Matt and Michelle.
Oh, that's right.
Right?
Okay.
Fuck Chase.
I am withdrawing it and buying a Sweet Greens buffalo chicken salad.
Great.
Boom.
A good use of your $18.
There we go.
God damn, those salads are good, but they're so expensive.
Well, speaking of that, let's get to our VIBs and then get to bad manners.
Let's do it.
Do you want to go first or second for our Buds of the Week this week?
I'll go first.
Okay.
My Bud of the Week is Emily Eisen, who is an incredible artist, model, and photographer. You follow her at Emily Eisen. Her last name is spelled Eizen, and I had a photo shoot with her today, which was so fun because I've been admiring her work from afar and on Instagram for a while. She makes incredible paintings and photographs of all sorts of people in weed and beyond, and she's also a model, and she creates these beautiful psychedelic, bright, poppy portraits, and I don't know, she's just really neat and an exciting artist, and it was really cool to work with her, and I'm excited to see how the pics come out.
I can't wait to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, I cannot wait to see those photos. I feel like you
really
two
fun.
had great synergy as you were shooting.
We had a really good time. And it was like one of those, like, it all happened so fast. It felt like a dream.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My Bud of the Week this week is also a fantastic artist, Whitney Moore, my friend from years ago who I just reconnected with at a birthday party for our friend Chelsea. And she just had a movie come out called Palm Swings that won the Best LGBTQ Short and Best Dark Comedy at both IndieX and the Independent Shorts Awards film festivals. Follow Whitney at Whitney S. Moore on Instagram. There you can watch Palm Swings. It's very good. It's 24 and a half minutes of just fantastic filmmaking by a bunch of friends who believe in their dreams.
Awesome.
And Whitney's a great follow on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere else as well because she loves punk rock and she loves superheroes and she makes dope horror shit. So there you go.
Hell yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good way to bring in spooky season.
Yes, spooky season.
Give them both a follow. And follow Bad Manners.
Follow Bad Manners. Matt and Michelle are the coolest in the game. They are making amazing books and podcasts and videos and all sorts of stuff. And also they're just like the fucking greatest hang ever.
Beams of light.
Truly.
Who have great dogs.
Yes.
And a work ethic that is second to none. Inspiring, accessible, and honest.
Wow.
And if you can go pre-order their new book, it's their fourth book, do it. The link is in our bio. I just fucking love these two people.
Me too. I fucking love them. I was so glad we connected with them kind of early on in the life of our podcast. And then we went on Forked Up, which is their pod. And it was really cool to revisit them a while later and see this like nascent real empire that they're building in their beautiful space that they invited us into. Michelle made us blueberry time rolls from their new book. The whole thing
vegan.
It was like the perfect LA podcast dream hang. They're
100%.
gracious and wonderful. and they made us feel appreciated and comfortable.
I think that's how we start this interview. So let's get to it. You good?
Yeah.
All right. Without further ado, here is our interview with
Bad Manners. We've been watching Love on the Spectrum. If you haven't.
no.
Yeah. Okay.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant.
But this isn't going to be about that. All right. We're ready.
We're ready.
Everybody who listens is like, oh, they're still talking about Love on the Spectrum. It's only been 2 months of episodes.
5 fucking episodes of me being like, I'm gonna get tattooed on my body.
What's the mantra again? What is it?
Well, there's 2. There's one which is brave and grateful, and the other is appreciated and comfortable. And those for me are the 4 pillars. If I could just feel all those things all the time,
For sure.
I would have a perfect life.
Yeah.
Brave, grateful, appreciated, and comfortable.
Oh, I have not. Yeah, no, that all tracks. I feel like I would maybe full. I'd add full.
Full.
Yeah. Wait, do you mean spiritually and stomachally?
All. I mean, they're the same to me.
Thanks for hanging with us. Would you just introduce yourselves by name so everyone knows your voice?
Yeah. This is Matt Holloway.
And I'm Michelle Davis.
And we are the co-creators of Bad Manners. Good
right.
food.
With a hot new book dropping November 9th.
November 9th.
I would say
everywhere
a steaming new book, even.
Well, I don't know. It sounds moist. No, thank you. Yeah.
I'm looking at a copy of it right now.
Yeah.
Brave new meal, fresh as fuck food for every table.
That's right.
That's it.
That's it. November. Y'all, we bled for this one. Whew.
Yeah, we
Say
should.
more on that. What are you talking about?
So, we had one concept for the book.
Not a beer. This is water. for the audience, it's just water.
We had a slightly different concept for the book. And then when the pandemic hit, it was like, wait, we're not going to write a book for a world that doesn't exist anymore. So we rewrote the whole
Yeah,
thing.
we wrote this fucker twice.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we did.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is more of the moment because it's more reflective of our experiences in the last year and a half.
Yeah, the intro of the first version of the book that we wrote, I mean, like, we were really proud of the first
Yeah, but
version.
it's just for a different
But
world.
that was the before times.
Right.
So completely different
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
with
not
how
that we
food
harp
is.
on the
Yeah, but like we were spraying our groceries
Yeah,
with disinfectant,
exactly.
and I barely remember that time. It's like a
Yeah.
crazy separation between then.
Yeah, so it's like I didn't, for that same exact reason, it was like because we were focusing initially very much on fresh produce and trying to get people more comfortable with eating fresh vegetables. And which, we still feel very strongly about. But instead, I went through and kind of rewrote these recipes so that you could add frozen, that you could add canned, like you could do all these things because you're making one grocery store run now.
Yeah.
You're not going like we used to whenever we just needed to pick up a thing or two. You know what I mean? Like you're making that shit count. If you're getting your groceries delivered, you're doing it one time. Like you're not paying all these fees. And so I wanted people to feel that they had choices of a bunch of different ways to make these recipes.
Something that we both noticed was people have such short-term memories. Growing up in Houston my whole life, I'm used to hurricanes. So when a storm's coming, you go to the grocery store, people are panic buying toilet paper, water, food. So when everything fell to shit in like February 2020, both Michelle and I went to different grocery stores and everyone going to the frozen food section, canned goods section, all that shit. Produce was fine.
Yeah,
Because no one knows how to cook that shit.
That's so true.
Produce
Yeah.
was untouched.
There were so many apples available.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I had never had a better deal on apples in my life. But yeah, so we wanted people to be able to cook with what they could find. And so that's more how we structured this version. And so we have all these different icons, like good for leftovers, good for freezing, good to use canned foods, good to use leftovers. Like it's all written in there in the new book because we just wanted to make it easy. It wasn't easy on us to do that.
Well, that actually, to talk about process a little bit
Yeah.
in
Sure.
this book, did you start with something like the index first? Because those categories are so specific and unique that I've never seen in a cookbook before.
Oh, thank
thanks.
you. So we kind of we always want our cookbooks to feel like kind of a journey through the day. So actually we shoot each photo with a different light idea, so that the entrees and stuff, those are lit for the evening. So if you look at those photos, but of all our breakfast stuff.
Yeah, if you like flip to like the front of the book where the breakfast section is, you're gonna notice a lot of that lighting feels breakfasty.
Oh, yeah.
Like it feels like morning.
It's Folgers commercial.
Yeah,
lighting.
exactly.
Yeah. And then
So that's
as
part of waking up.
as like the book progresses and we get into lunch, you see kind of a higher light, like the sun's higher in the sky.
Yeah, and then and in the evening it's dark, and you can see it in the chapter openers. But we always want to kind of take you through the day. We want to have recurrent ingredients. That was one of the things our publisher got really annoyed with us about the first time they published a book with us, because they're like, "You're using the same things over and over again." I'm like,
That's the fucking point. Like that's what we're doing.
So the first time y'all were joining us on the podcast for either my birthday or Christmas, Mary Jane got me your cookbook for me to work through over the holidays.
Nice.
And I disagree with your publisher, because now I know more ways to use garbanzo beans and and kidney beans and all these different from that first book than I
Tahini.
ever would have experienced.
Yeah.
Truly, it changed my game.
"Oh,
But that's
cute."
that's the kind of shit that we love hearing, is because even though, and we don't say this anywhere in the book, that it's all vegan food. There's no meat, no animal products, no dairy, no nothing. That's not our audience are omnivores who are just trying to eat more plant-based options. So when Michelle develops these recipes, and she has a fantastic palate, like Michelle's food really shines, but then we nail it down, we'll give it to our friends and family who are omnivores. We don't give it to
can't
vegans.
cook.
Yeah, we give it to normal fucking people, and we're like, cook this dish and tell me if you have any roadblocks, any questions about ingredients, if there's something you don't understand, how did it turn out, what
Yeah,
did you
or if
think?
you couldn't find something in the grocery store, like tell me, just so that we can reflect that experience. Also, I think I talked about this last time. I worked in a grocery store for 10 years, and half of my job was helping people find shit. And they would just show me recipes, be like, I don't know where any of this stuff is. So I try to anticipate those questions. So we're one of the only cookbooks that has little asterisks. And you go to the little footnotes on the recipe, and I'll be like, this is near the barbecue sauce. Go look. And it's because I worked for 10 years in the grocery store.
There's nothing more irritating than getting home with a shit ton of parsley when you needed to buy cilantro.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're like, no.
Totally.
I wanted to ask about that genesis of, do you start with the ingredients that you love because you don't eat meat, and then make them, amp them up for people who do love meat? Or do you start with a recipe that might feature meat and then make it?
It's
do
both. It's
Yeah.
both. Yeah. Sometimes it's memories from food. In the first book, the chickpea and dumpling soup, that's my Nana's recipe for her chicken and dumplings that I, removed half the
Chopped
butter.
and screwed.
Yeah. And things like that. But other stuff is really just me being like, I'm having a love affair with eggplant right now. How am I going to convey this to everyone else? Or just, beets are on sale, or the beetaroni pizza.
Yo, when Michelle developed that, the entire, our entire office smelled like pepperoni pizza, and we gave that to our neighbors they're omnivores, and they were like, "This tastes like pepperoni." The crunch, everything. They were like, "How the fuck is this beets?" They could not process it.
And I don't have a lot of love for beets in my heart. So if you guys ever come across a beet recipe that I've developed, please know, if you think beets taste like dirt, I also agree. And so if I'm giving you a recipe with beets, just know it doesn't taste like dirt.
Yeah.
I have not done that to you. Do not worry. But yeah, so much of our recipes, they come from all different kinds of places, or it's food that I had at a friend's house where I'm like, I love this. What did you do? I have a insatiable palate, so I'm always just trying to cook up new things.
And there's something that we both notice in a lot of vegan cooking, whether it's a restaurant or a cookbook, that they're essentially taking traditional meat-based dishes, and they have a fake, protein in there. And Michelle's very good at being that's not the center of the dish. The vegetable should be forward.
Yeah, we don't call for any pre-made ingredients. The only thing that we call for in our books that's a pre-made sub is a non-dairy butter and non-dairy milk. But you won't see me being grab your fake cheeses and grab your because number one, that's
Beyond
fucking
Burger,
expensive.
Nothing like that.
Also,
yeah.
nut cheese is just, don't ever say those two words. It's not okay.
It's when I would have to give people directions to stuff because I worked at a grocery store that didn't have numbers on the aisles, and I'd be like, oh, it's near the nut butters. 75% of the adults were like,
That's pretty funny.
and I was like, you're cool. But yeah, I don't call for a lot of that stuff because access is not equal. And the quality isn't always there, and it's fucking expensive. And so I show you guys how to make everything from scratch. And if you don't have the time and you have the money to buy replacements, I trust that you know how to put cheese on something.
I love that because we were just in St. Louis, and I wanted to take Mary Jane to a St. Louis grocery store.
Okay.
Your
Because it's
hometown, right?
Very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck
It's
yeah, man.
Fucking different from an LA grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. Like
Yeah.
there's like 6 avocados in a little container,
Yep.
like off in the corner of the produce, and all of the herbs are pre-chopped in these plastic cups,
Mm-hmm.
like portioned out by ounce. And so it's a matter of convenience, but it doesn't necessarily like it's a different type of shop, I guess
Yeah.
is the best way to describe it.
No, I lived in Virginia for a while, and it's the same thing after growing up in California. I'm like, this produce section, so like they would take all the skin off the onions. So it's like the shiny skin of the onions, and this was in every grocery
feels
store.
perverted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the Newport News area of Virginia, it's just shiny onions as far as the eye can see. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
That's crazy.
Yeah, but
Do they
every-
also peel all the fucking bananas.
Yeah, like it was just like these weird, like little produce things where I was like, huh, and then I'm like, oh yeah, of course, and it's just iceberg, and that's fine. But I don't want to discourage people from cooking just because maybe their grocery store just doesn't have the selection that we do. So I call for very normal produce. Like in the back of the book, we have a produce description section where it's like we talk about all the health benefits of all these different ingredients, but I feel like most books when they do that, they're like, this is acai and it's good for this. I'm like, no, this is
Yeah,
carrots.
this is fennel
Carrot-
pollen that
yeah.
I got at the farmer's market. It's like, fuck that.
No,
Like, that's
there's
not-
everyday
normal people
superfoods that like
cook
bell
like that.
peppers, carrots, broccoli, all that stuff. Stuff that people are familiar with, but I want you to look at it with fresh eyes and be impressed with it, and then actually crave it and want to eat it because you know where to find it.
Did you feel during the pandemic that your audience, that your listenership, that your readership changed or grew or was looking to you more for like, please fucking help us? How are we going to get through this?
I mean, yeah, 100%. Like it was a combination of things, especially like over the summer. Like, if you guys have heard us on the podcast before, like we were originally Thug Kitchen, and we've always been about democratizing food, being more inclusive, like Michelle was just saying, with ingredients and recipes and things like that. So I think that when the pandemic hit and people were, everybody went to like baking first, so everyone was making the fucking sourdough, like fine. They got tired of that pretty quick. So people were like, we saw a spike in our site traffic, just fucking go nuts. And then during the rebrand, people were looking at us being like, well, what are you guys going to do next? And we're like, honestly, because both of our personal lives at that time was just such a fucking nightmare.
Same.
Like, yeah, like we all had a
ya.
hard pandemic. But like, yeah, it was just a lot, and we weren't sure, but we
We would
had
post
done,
our depression meals and stuff and just be like, hey, this is us doing our best right now. And I feel like that content was really relatable, that even the people in food who obviously have a huge passion for food. I'm like, I'm eating green beans for the 5th day in a row, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. This is where we're at.
yeah.
This is what we're doing. And then people were very interactive talking about, they're like, I've eaten only rice and potatoes.
Right. I mean, when Stanley Tucci is going viral for mixing a Negroni, like it was like
Yeah.
some act of God, and you're like, oh my God, people are desperate.
Help me feel joy. Oh God. But yeah, it was we put up God, what was the thing that we put up on the website to help people cook from their pantries?
Oh, shit. What was that called? We literally, yeah. So this is like, I think this is after, it was right before, maybe right after the rebrand, is we created a whole section on our website that were like, here's like pantry staples, and here's how to cook like a few different dishes that are like, staples.
Yeah, that you don't need a bunch of crazy produce. Like we really,
You keep talking, I'm gonna find it.
yeah.
Yeah, I still have half a bag of quinoa, half a thing of rice, half a thing of I have half bags of every grain.
That was the
sitting in my
point
cabinet.
of us creating that, because we're like, everyone just bought a bunch of random shit. They don't know how to fucking use any of it. So like, we're going to try and help people like use what they just bought, all this random stuff.
Can you also make a section for toilet paper that came half a year later from China that it feels weird to use now because I don't know what I'm doing with it.
Can I just say, because we're recording this in your studio,
Yes.
and I just went to the bathroom, and the treat was the heated seat.
Yeah, that's right. I was telling Mary Jane when it all happened and people are waiting in these long lines for toilet paper. Matt and I, we opted right out of the game.
No, hang on. First of all, I have been a bidet man for years. If y'all are still scraping your asshole with
Dry
fucking,
toilet paper.
with trees, that is some Neanderthal fucking behavior right
Yeah.
there. We need to move past that. I don't know. It's an American thing. Everywhere else that I've traveled, everyone's like bidets.
Yeah,
like
so
Canada, the UK, fucking Central America, South America, bidets everywhere.
Yeah, we went
It's an
to
American-
Lowe's down the street and got some bidets, and everybody's got a bidet now. Bidet for you, bidet for you,
And
bidet
I'm not,
for you.
yeah, and I'm not saying don't use any toilet paper. I'm just saying you're using 90% more than you need.
100%. Especially if you're a wrapper instead of a folder.
Oh,
Come on.
I mean,
Chaos.
I would,
Chaos.
I would love to get into techniques. Yeah, you're saying like people like, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Brutal. So far we've covered shiny onions and shiny bottoms.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's
if you love yourself.
yeah, that's all we need. That's all we need. And we, in front of us, have our blueberry marble thyme rolls that I made for y'all that I started eating.
I'm going to dig in because this looks incredible. And I've been gawking at these on your Instagram.
So as we try them, can you share the...
Yeah, so I knew I really like, I don't like overly sweet things. So I wanted to make a jam that had, herbaceous elements to it. So blueberries and thyme came to mind. It worked really well, but I couldn't figure out how to use it. And I don't like giving people recipes for condiments with nothing to do with them. Whether you make the roll or not, please make the jam.
Yeah.
But I hate not going the full way with people. I'm like, why would I just give you a project?
So how is this buttery without
Yeah, it's
butter?
yeah.
This is delicious.
Thank you so much.
It's like
So
soft
fucking
and
good.
fluffy. Yeah. Crunchy on the top,
Yeah.
but gooey in the middle.
Yeah, and I so it's a enriched dough, like kind of like a challah, and then you paint one side after you roll it out like a pizza. You paint one side with the jam that you made, fold it over, and you cut strips, and then tie them in little knots and put them in the baking dish. And then you just kind of brush a little extra non-vegan or vegan butter on top with a little bit of thyme. And there you go. But like you could do this for Thanksgiving with cranberry sauce.
Yep.
You could do it with like a bunch of different, and store-bought jam's fine with it. This I made with frozen blueberries, not even fresh blueberries.
This feels to me like something you just make for someone that you love.
Yeah.
So good.
It looks, and it might look kind of like a long recipe, but honestly, guys, most of it is rising and kneading, and it's delicious every time. I've made this so many times, and I really like it. That's why I keep making it.
So fucking good.
Do you find that a recipe like this, when everybody was struggling to figure out how to make sourdough, and bread seems maybe it's overly complicated, but is this hard, or is this
No,
not? Is bread tricky?
Bread, I think loaves of bread are much trickier than yeasted doughs. Like these kind of doughs, especially when you tie it in a knot with a jam, like it's supposed to look messy. So you're not going for this perfection. And everybody is really used to like a high quality, like kind of loaf of bread from the grocery store with that good crust and that aeration and all of that. But most of the rolls that you buy at grocery stores are fucking shit. So start with rolls. You're going to impress yourself. You're going to start understanding yeast and what kills it, what doesn't kill it, and then graduate to making like a harder crust bread. Start with the soft rolls. It's the way to go every
Totally.
time.
Yeah.
Was yeast one of the things that you stocked up on?
Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I saw the writing on the wall.
Everyone running down that bacon aisle grabbing flour. Wrong ingredient.
Get the yeast.
Yeah, exactly.
So funny.
Yeah.
It's awesome to picture you in like some like game show game where everybody went left and you went right and ended up victorious.
And I worked at a grocery store. I was like, you dumb motherfuckers.
Yeah. Michelle, there was a day that we both got back to the office after we had like gone grocery sourcing at that point. And we came back, and like one of the tables where we shoot photography, it was like laid out with like toilet paper, vegetables, and then like fucking ammo. And we were just and we were just both being like, "What do you got?" Okay, I got some rounds for a 9. All right, I'll take that head of cabbage over there. Like her and I were just like divvying shit up.
It was wild.
Yeah.
Okay. Shit was wild, guys.
Look, I'm from Texas. I own guns. I didn't know how fucking south things were gonna go.
Yes.
So, look, I got scared when the government's like, look, we're just gonna send checks. I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The government doesn't just send checks. Things are so much worse
They
than they are telling us.
They hate doing that.
I don't work at the Pentagon. Why are they sending me a check?
And the irony of that check for me was that it actually froze my bank account while there were like tanks on the corner of my street. That fucking check
Yeah.
bounced.
Oh,
Donald
motherfucker.
Trump's check bounced for you?
That fucking check
That
bounced.
tracks. That tracks.
Very on
They
brand
shut
for
down my
him.
account. I was like, motherfuckers.
As one does. As
Yeah.
one does.
Oh man.
I got more
Yeah.
cookbook questions.
Yeah, hey, let's get into it.
I'll start with, were there any recipes did you start with a ton of recipes and then you're going to figure out like the order of them? Or did you go like, yo, what's breakfast looking like for me? And then go down the line with a bunch of delicious recipes?
It's half and half. So it's like I've been cooking all of these things because we haven't published a cookbook since 2016. And so I had a lot of recipes, in the back of my head that I've been working on and notebooks full of it. So it's like I kind of collect all my source material. I'm like, okay, what is the theme here? Like, what am I looking at? And then I kind of put them all into different categories and see. And then I'm like, oh, there's not enough breakfast, for instance. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? What can I add to kind of make it a well-rounded experience? Because I do want it to be, evenly matched all through. And that's not necessarily always how I end up cooking. Like sometimes I'm like, man, I'm balls deep in soup. Like, what's happening?
It's just a soup cookbook now. That's
I
all
don't-
it is.
I don't
Like,
know how that happened. I
Yeah.
don't know how it happened.
But you have breakfast soup happening now. You're making breakfast soup a whole fucking thing.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I gotta
really
say,
wanna-
I was suspect of it until I tried it. I was like, this isn't that weird. Like,
It's
this
not
is,
that weird.
It has all the flavor profiles that we're used to. Like the breakfast potatoes and
Yeah.
and there was like just a little bit of heat to it. Like it was good. I was impressed. Michelle is so fucking good at her job. Like I really can't
Aw, thank you, guys.
overstate that. And like this process of Michelle writing down all the recipes, she's like, okay, like here, here's what I've developed, here's what I've tested. And then she's writing them all down. She's like, I think we have 2 books here. And like we sent it to the publisher and they're like, you guys have to scale this way back.
No kidding.
Oh, dude, like we will never run out of ideas. Like between Michelle's palette and creativity around food and like the photography and just
my
like
endless hunger.
yeah, it's just like we will never run out.
Awesome.
We'll be writing books until one of us dies. It's gonna be me.
I was just gonna say, we gotta say something.
Yeah,
I'm gonna kill him.
yeah. Probably gonna be poisoning too. So.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm just ready for it. See, what she doesn't know is I've been slowly loading poison into my system for years.
Very
So,
clever.
Yeah,
Now we're sitting here. I mean, this is your 4th book.
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you identified the pain points for yourselves? Do you know, like, when you're coming up on the thing that's going to really hurt, and you sort of know how to attack it or back away from it, or give yourself a day off and just know, like,
No.
We are terrible.
Fuck
at,
no. I wish. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
We're terrible at taking days off. For us, really, the creation of the book.
We both worked this weekend.
Yeah,
Like, we're bad. We're terrible at it.
Yeah, the creative process for the book, I think, is really immensely pleasurable for both of us. It's we always just want a lot of feedback, and the kind of more successful the books get, the less feedback we get from people, which is the exact opposite of what I want in terms of from our publisher and things like that. It's like, no, come on, give me the business.
We
I
send-
can't grow. I can't do anything.
We send them like a full fucking draft of the book with preliminary photography. It's by nowhere is it done, and they'll reply a week later, looks great. And I'm like, I want to light myself on fire. Like that is the worst fucking feedback I can get. Tear it apart. Like tell me that it sucks.
Especially
and
early
why.
in the game.
Totally.
Yeah. The thing that I think we both struggle with is always just kind of the promotion of the book, because we don't really like to sell ourselves because it's not about us. But that is really how promotion is set up these days, that it's really driven on the author's personality, and we always just want the work to speak for itself. So that's always kind of our struggle of being like, how do we do this? How do we talk about it in a way that's meaningful without just so centering like us and our perspective on that? Because especially with food, like it's such a personal thing for people. And I hate setting up a comparison between myself and the person trying to cook the food at home or anybody else. I want you to feel like you are there with the book, like guiding you, not that you're trying to emulate anything about Matt or myself, not that we're worth emulating, but I just think so often when it's a face on a cookbook, I at least I do. I get envious.
I hated that shit.
You know, I get jealous. I'm like, well, their life is so lovely.
Yeah, this
and,
nice
like
ass
they have
kitchen.
these beautiful.
Look at those pots and pans behind them.
Do you know who the chef is? My friend Natalie cooks some of her recipes. Her name is Athena something. Do you know? Like, and her whole fucking life is so annoying to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus, you're clearly very fucking wealthy.
Yeah.
And your whole kitchen makes me sad.
Yeah, and it just distracts from what the recipes could be amazing, and it'll just distract me. And
But her food is great.
yeah,
yeah.
And I especially when times were tougher and I didn't have any money, like it was just so hard to find joy in the cooking that was so centered on somebody's life experience like that. So when it comes to PR and stuff, that's where we have a hard time.
But I think that, to that point, I think that the pandemic made us be a little bit more candid with our audience about our lives, especially with our own podcast,
Well,
Forked Up, that you guys have been on.
Forked Up.
Yeah. And now, like, we just recently in the last couple of months have pivoted to videos that's on YouTube. Like, people can like reach out and touch us, and we're like very upfront about like the struggles that we have in our lives, and like, self-deprecation, and like talking about mental health, and like being on anxiety medication, things like that. So
But, like,
I think people like respond to that. They're like, oh shit, these are like real. It's not just like this silly fucking brand on Instagram that I follow. Like, these
But
are real people.
at the same time, like I'm not shy in person, but I am shy online. And I just never know how to balance those things. But I don't think most people get into the kitchen to get on camera. At least I didn't.
Not until Anthony Bourdain made
Yeah.
everyone think if you go to culinary school, then you might be a celebrity.
Yeah, you might have
Yeah.
star quality, and
Right.
it's just not something that necessarily brings me a lot of joy to be on camera. So
Yeah.
But it sounds like it fits right in with your brand, which is like omnivores.
Yeah.
Where it's like we all contain multitudes, whether it's like you want to be vegan for vegan for vegan
Fucking
for vegan.
hate that word.
Or, multitudes. Yeah, sorry.
No, I just like when people are like, "Oh, you guys are vegans." I'm like, just shudder.
Yeah, exactly. But having gotten to know you and also having you been more accessible online, it has that same feel to it. Like you're omnivorish in your brand and putting yourself out there as well, instead of just letting the food be so forward that we don't know anything about you. I
Yeah.
like that a lot.
Oh,
Thanks.
I mean, it's a balance we're trying to strike, and I'll always get shy again, and then be like, "Don't look, please, don't look at me."
Yeah,
Just look at the roll. But we're trying.
I don't know. You have nice skin. You
Oh,
both
thank
look-
you.
well, yeah,
I know. I think people get
dewy.
mad. I think people get mad when they're like, "You're not even fucked up looking."
yeah, yeah. It's like,
How dare you?
yeah, it's like I got all my teeth,
Yeah, people want us to be uggos.
but and like that.
You are whoever you're responding to in the comments. You avoid.
Yeah.
block.
That like gap about like who we were, like as the first trilogy came out, like people were filling in the gaps, and they were making up crazy shit. They were like, "Oh, Matt and Michelle, this rich married couple and live in Hollywood." It's like, number one, not only are we not married or not together at all, like this is purely platonic, but like
Hollywood?
first of all, people who say Hollywood are like people who don't live in LA.
Yeah.
Because if you live in LA, Hollywood's a gutter.
Yes.
It is a shit neighborhood.
Yeah.
So like when people like Ted Cruz are like, "Oh, these Hollywood elites," I'm like, who? Hollywood sucks, man. It sucks. Like say that we live in like fucking Silver Lake or something like that, where some young yuppies, but like it's a very
That's such an old word.
I know, but it's like it's a very disconnected way of describing people from LA. It's like, oh, these Hollywood people. But then like another thing about
it's a
that is
city of
that
10 million people. We're not all Tom Cruise.
Hollywood is like that weird term that the right loves to use just for anything that's progressive. Like
Yeah.
recently when the Superman came out and they were like, "Oh, he's bisexual now. Hollywood has destroyed it." And it's like, that's a comic book. That's nothing to do with fucking Hollywood.
Yeah.
Weirdos.
Also, he's an alien.
Yeah.
Y'all. Like you don't. you think he has to be heterosexual because he's a fucking alien.
Yeah, your suspension of disbelief about this world and his superpowers and him being a fucking alien has somehow you've narrowed down his sexuality. Are you what?
No, it's like when people are like, Santa has to be white. I was like, Santa's not real. He can be anything. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, Santa could be fucking Cthulhu. Like it doesn't matter. Like
more likely, in fact. Yeah.
Everyone needs to chill out.
but like another dig, it was just like that we were rich, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah,
like,
I was volunteering at the grocery store.
Yeah, and like I was
Right.
I was a production assistant. I was clearing $600 a week, and that was like before taxes. So like 375, 400, like, you know what I mean? So when people call us rich, and I was like, damn, we worked really hard in the first book to talk about our backgrounds. People just completely fucking ignore that.
But so we're trying to be a little bit more forward facing, but it goes against every instinct in my little human body.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your intro for this one
Yeah.
calls out a lot of bullshit going on in the world right now.
Thank you.
Calling it Brave New Meal, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't like the word gutsy. I just appreciate that you're like, there's a lot of food waste out here.
Yeah.
This is a huge problem. Can we, like, if we have this platform, let's talk about these things. It's crucial.
Especially with like food entertainment. I hate seeing like conspicuous consumption stuff. Like, you know, I don't know how many fucking rainbow foods we can see, how many like gold flake things we can see. It's just like, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just,
if your neighbors aren't eating, but you're sprinkling gold on your steak, like what the fuck are we doing?
It's crazy that everyone's mad at Salt Bay for like some extraordinary bill when it's like, no, the food is terrible and that's all wasted. It's actually not even about a 32,000 pound bill. It's
Yeah.
about that the food didn't get eaten and also sucks and what?
Yeah,
but
and the quality of the meal isn't reflected in his ability to find, you know, funding and all of these things. And we still value it. It's because if it's grammable, that's more important than if it's tasty. And it's not nourishing people. And especially in a city like LA, when it's so much food insecurity and so many people experiencing homelessness, it's like how it would be immoral to operate a brand here and never kind of discuss the downsides to the food industry. And we know we've done food styling for other brands.
Mm-hmm.
We've been on shoots. We know how other cookbooks are written, and all the food
it's
gets
an
wasted.
incredible amount of food waste. We were shocked.
Are they like written by committee and then they get the snapshot of the fettuccine and dump it in a thing?
So
and move on?
just like right off the top, like when someone gets a book deal, and this isn't always the case, but more often than not, especially like older books,
Yeah, and
It's like-
celebrity.
yeah, they're not really there except for maybe 1 or 2 days with the photographer photographing them in the kitchen, taking a bite of food or like rolling a fucking dough out or something like that. There's someone else who's coming up with the recipe development, kind of ghost writing the actual recipes. And then there's like usually another writer who's like filling in all like the stories, and they kind of follow around the talent. So they kind of get a sense of their life, and, you know, they fill in those gaps. And then you have multiple photographers, you have a bunch of editors, there's at least a dozen people on set.
But then
like
they do a couple a shoot week or
Yeah.
multiple shoot weeks where it's people cooking all the food at the same time, and then and then they're taking all the photos, but they've hired the food photographer. So it's just really for that short window. So you'll notice it's like the same backgrounds, the same plates, and all this stuff over and over again because they're just churning it out.
Yeah,
right
notice
under camera.
Notice like thumb through like, I don't know, and it's not even celebrities, like, you know,
We don't have to
shit
name
like
any
chefs.
names.
Yeah.
Yeah,
real.
I'll gladly name names. Like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah. But like, you notice if they're wearing the same shirt, if their hair looks the same, like look and see if this feels like the same day, because chances are that it probably is. But yeah,
then all that food just goes in the garbage, and they made like several dishes
Yeah,
of it too.
they'll buy like 4 times more than they need, and it's usually just thrown away. And when we got into this industry, we were fucking shocked because Michelle and I like make everything. We're like one dish. Sometimes we have a backup if it's something that's time sensitive, like you're pouring like a glaze over something, so there's like a
Or like the
drip.
pancakes. Yeah.
But then
Oh, that's a sexy photo.
Oh,
by the
thank
way.
you.
Those
Thanks.
pancakes, God damn.
But then, like, we'll eat
figured-
it.
My favorite thing about that pancakes is that I finally fucking wisened up after years of trying to shoot pancakes and it not like turning out exactly how we wanted it. And we put the fucking syrup in the freezer. So
It's a slow drip.
so it's still viscousy, but it comes out slower and you get those sexy drips. And I was like, I'm a genius.
Like everything that we've done has been like self-taught. Like Michelle's not a chef.
Yeah.
Like she didn't go to culinary school. Like I'm a photographer, but like I have fucking YouTube University, man. Like, didn't nobody teach me. Like I've apprenticed for other photographers, but it's not been food photographers.
Yeah.
So like the food styling, things like that.
Well, and all of our food goes from, my kitchen to right under Matt's lens. So
That's
Yeah.
awesome. It's also great to hear that syrup in this picture isn't rubber cement
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something. You know
It's
what
all
I
real
mean?
food.
No, it's
Yeah.
all
Yeah, there's no glue, no tricks, none of that shit. It's all
the
real.
most we do with our food photography is I have like a spray bottle of water. So it's a fine mist to keep it looking moist. I'll do that to the produce and stuff too. That's about it because it still keeps it edible because we're going to eat it.
Yeah, or if there's like a beer can in the shot, we'll spray the side of it so it looks like condensation on the outside. But like,
Yeah, that's just being professional.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
making it look good.
that's
Well, but some
you're
people-
crafting a vibe. You
yeah,
know, like,
that's what we are. We're vibe crafters.
fucking kill me if we ever call ourselves vibe crafters. It's like an offshoot of Lens Crafters.
I need to go.
Like,
I need to go buy that URL. BRB.
Yeah.
Because vibe.
Because
Yeah.
vibe. Exactly.
We saw a Lens Crafters commercial where the tagline was "Because sight," and Mary Jane lost her top. I don't mean take her top off. I mean like her head exploded. Sorry.
I think it's blew my top, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
You can lose it too.
I did lose it,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
I truly did.
God, damn these fucking taglines.
Oh, man. I want to talk about your podcast, too.
Oh.
It's so fucking fun.
Oh, thanks.
And I was just listening to it and laughing so fucking hard at hot soda. What
Disgusting.
Vile.
a reeking
Crimes against food.
a reeking
Smatch.
a reeking smatch.
Yeah.
Which is a hot soda that really existed that you dug up in your food history
Yeah.
segment. Disgusting.
Disgusting, guys. There's clams involved.
There's a hot clam soda.
hot clam soda.
Yeah.
I
They
would
had-
never have known about it unless I'd
They
listened to
had
Forked
one
Up.
that was hot beef. And then they had a variation that was a hot beef with a tomato soda.
Yeah.
And the price doubled on that, which is fascinating because you're like, oh, so the tomato's more than the beef that you're putting into it.
Yeah.
And that when is this? 1920s?
It was the hot sodas were popular from like the 1913 to like the 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through the Depression.
Yeah. Carried it
Yeah.
through the Depression. Clam, water, hot soda. Disgusting, guys. It's disgusting stuff. Forked Up every week.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good to just track the evolution of so many things through your food history segment, and then
Oh,
you're
thank you.
so funny. And it's
Oh,
just
thanks.
so great to tune in. And now we can watch you as well and look at you in your beautiful studio with your decor. And
Yeah.
it's,
I lost my mind, guys. I really put a lot of spider webs up, and now Matt is convinced that it's being colonized by real spiders.
I opened the studio this morning to like get our podcast equipment out and like legit walked through one of those massive spider webs.
I don't know.
It was not one of the fake ones. It was by the front door. So that was a real spider web.
Yeah.
But yeah, we fucking love doing our podcast. It's like every week we are like, oh, like, are we being too like educational? Is there too much like, we try to balance it out. Michelle has her food segment history. I have Total Recall. We're like, until I was doing Total Recall, we have like 3 or 4 recalls of food per day in this fucking country. Isn't that weird?
it's crazy.
And we only hear about the big ones. Like
Right.
that has to be like metric fucking tons.
Where
Like
people die
hundreds.
and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, yeah, we try to balance it out that it's like half of it's comedy, half of it's like sort of edutainment. And now that we've like pivoted to video, we're trying to use more like video elements. We have a segment called Talk Busted Video where it's like just fucking chaos of like food on the internet. But I refuse to, like those conspicuous consumption videos. I just absolutely refuse. People send that shit to us. I'm like, nah, we're
They're
not.
like, oh, look at this,
we're not airing it.
pizza made with baked beans on top. I'm like, I will not.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what you want. You want it too bad.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at it.
I hate that stuff. Oh, don't get me started. Like, because my TikTok, I'm trying to change it right now because I'm getting all that bullshit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want like dope recipes made by people who care, not some like clickable nonsense that makes me sad.
Yeah,
But that's
exactly.
the algorithms reward that though, the clickable bullshit, you know, and that's a shame. Like
is.
it's
Ugh.
How do we fight it?
Yeah.
yeah.
I have another book question.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. How do y'all feel about the M dash?
Oh.
Are you fans of it? Because Mary Jane was helping me with something this morning, and I kept going back and forth between a comma and an M dash, and I almost jumped out a window.
Okay, I like an M dash when your instinct is to put it in parentheses.
Oh,
You know what
okay.
I mean? So it's
All
like I feel like it's more of an aside where a comma is, you know, in a list, or it's kind of more, it's a part of the larger thought. We started a newsletter recently, and we used an M dash in our subscribers only.
That's
episode.
right.
If you want to see some fancy punctuation.
Yeah.
For real, that's what I noticed. Like you have words capitalized in
Yeah.
here where I was like, oh my gosh, is that allowed? Like,
There's no semicolons in this book, I'm guessing.
No, there is a
There's
semicolon or
some.
two.
Oh, yeah.
There
I
is.
do.
All right.
Y'all, I went to grad school.
That's traditional.
I feel
I
like
like an Oxford comma too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm all
love
about
an
it.
Oxford
All
comma.
about it. So confusing without it.
Yes, exactly. No, I like an M dash when I'm like, I feel like it's like I'm talking shit, you know?
just like as an aside.
And by the way,
Yeah.
bananas are all clones. Anyway.
Listen, yeah. Bet you didn't know that shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
do you write out all of the like instructions and all of those things first, and then you go for a let's make it funny pass,
Yeah.
or is that how you do it?
Yeah, usually, unless there's some kind of commentary I had specifically with myself while I was cooking, where I was like, "You dumb bitch, you're gonna think you burn it. Stay with it. Don't worry."
It is kind of like, yeah, it's like writing it in a sort of, so like people who are unfamiliar with our brand is that we incorporate swear words and like funny imagery, like, you know, with our
Well, and
language.
just and realistic stuff.
Yeah. So I feel a lot of people at first blush are like, oh, it's just like swear words and like, you know, plant-based food, like that's all it is. And it's like, no, we use $10 words in there. Y'all just haven't looked.
Yeah, fuck might be my favorite, but I know plenty more. Thank you very much.
But yeah, like I was testing myself to try and write jokes without swear words, to try and not like go full blue. Or I guess, or against, what is it?
Not blue.
Not
Just
blue.
clean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But like, it's just like, is the joke funny enough? Is like a swear word adding or taking away?
Well, and I think there's something about the juxtaposition of cooking and swearing, because we all swear in our kitchen for sure. Even your grandmother did. Like, there's no, like, she burnt the garlic bread, like, fucking, like, she's saying some shit to herself.
Yeah, anybody who's worked in a profession, you worked in a fucking pizzeria, didn't you?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, like,
Sure did.
how many fucking swear words are flying out of the kitchen?
At the customers. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I think it's more. I think it's more honest to write that way, actually, in a cookbook than it is to make it too highfalutin.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And I love when we get content from like librarians or people. My favorite is when people will give the book to like their grandmother, and they're like, oh, read this cookbook, and the grandmother starts reading it, and they're like, stop, and they're like, what is this? Like, but then they
there's
start,
always,
but then
like,
they
a little
start,
naughty
they
giggle
start
that is-
chuckling because they're like, how is this in a cookbook? You know, and it's like, it's really sweet and endearing. It's like, yeah, it lets you kind of let your hair down a little bit. It's not so stuffy.
Yeah, you know who loves swearing? Old people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
they
they
fucking
do.
love it. My grandmother used to get so fucking excited by telling the one dirty limerick that she knew every goddamn holiday. She would like stand up and say it. It ended with a very bad word that I don't even know if I can say on here. Yeah. Oh yeah. Full on.
I like,
Come on our show and tell that joke.
drop a hard C.
Yeah, we don't give a fuck.
Yeah, she was old as fuck and it was great.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
even funnier then.
Yeah, I love when we post shit on YouTube and YouTube's like, hey, you need to remove this or we're going to demonetize. I'm like, fuck it, demonetize it. The content stays.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You have double newsletter action too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
2
we have
newsletters a
a subscribers newsletter and then a supporters newsletter. So if you pay $5 a month, you get access to bonus recipes that won't exist on anywhere else other than in the newsletter, behind the scenes stuff. We just did one about food and fiction because I'm a big reader. So talking about some of my favorite books as of late that feature food, which are so many, and then it just makes me hungry.
Yeah.
So the whole project,
It's-
all our projects make me hungry.
It's the Broiler Room.
Yes.
Yeah, is the name of the newsletter. And
Yeah.
so we have the free one goes out Saturday mornings, and then we have the supported one goes out Sunday mornings.
Yeah, and you can sign up at badmanners.substack.com, or it's at the top of our website, which is just badmanners.com. Hit
Or-
newsletter.
Or you can just go to thebroilerroom.com.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
wait a minute.
we just bought that.
We love to buy URLs.
Just snapping it up, making the empire happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have like a chaotic fucking back catalog of URLs.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I just got a notification that one of my URLs was being renewed, and I don't remember buying it. It was a pandemic buy. It's Empathetic.
Okay. All right.
Empathetic. And
Yeah.
I think it was about feeling ambiguous and also empathetic at the same. I don't even know what the fuck I bought it for.
I mean, listen, those were all of 2020 was a fever dream.
Yep.
A lot of choices were made.
Yeah.
That was a late night, very edible out choice.
Oh my God, there's so many notebooks where I'm like, oh yes, oh that was 2 a.m. on a Tuesday in the middle of the panty.
Yeah.
There's no other reason I would have written this out.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that saying? Right.
Right, drunk, edit
Drunk,
sober.
yeah. I'll look at like our drafts. I'm like, who the fuck wrote this joke? And I look at it. I'm like, oh, I did. When was this? Oh, last Sunday morning at fucking 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like, delete that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that we haven't really seen you guys since.
How the fuck have
the
y'all
whole
been?
Yeah, how the world's changed.
Fuck. Up and down.
Yeah.
Mike, can I say real quick, dude, you are so fucking funny.
Thanks.
Your
dude.
stand up. So when did I see you? Like 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago?
Yeah, right before you left town.
Yeah.
Whatever that was. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you, man. Thank you. That's awesome.
I mean, a lot of great comedians in that lineup, but you were hands down the funniest.
Yeah, and then this fucker's texting me. He's like, guess who I saw? I'm like, what? I'm just alone with my cats.
Yeah.
Well, I would come over and perform for that. Like, I'm very desperate for attention. So.
I will make snacks.
Dude,
Yeah.
thank you so much. That means a ton.
And
Was
you're,
it-
Yeah.
oh, and Mary Jane, you're killing it, Rolling Stone. Just every other day, I'm seeing news alerts for stories you wrote.
Thank you so much. It's been really cool to work on some stuff reporting some stuff that feels bigger than I've worked on for other publications.
Well, and I love because I'm coming across it in the wild, not through your
Yeah.
promotion. You know what I mean?
nice.
And so then I see it and I'm like, oh, hold on, wait.
I'll see shit in our Twitter feed and I'll click on it and I'll start reading it without like reading like the byline or anything. And I'm like, sounds like Mary Jane. This is Mary Jane. Like send it to Michelle. I'm like, look at her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at her go. Look
Yeah.
at her go.
You guys are fucking good and cool and great. at
Oh,
giving
come on,
compliments. Thank you.
y'all are fucking crushing it.
You're making her hold her arms.
I'm holding my arm. Yeah, it's true.
Aw, shucks.
Yeah.
I want to know. I can go on forever, and I look
We-
at the clock and we can go.
I got time.
Okay. But because we're also watching the Great British Bake Off new season right now. Have you watched?
I
any
haven't
of it?
started yet.
Okay, so there's a young cook baker on it named Freya, and she
Freya, I
is
think.
Freya, and she is doing everything for vegan recipes.
Oh,
Is this
While
the
they're-
horse girl?
No.
Is she a horse girl? I don't know.
A horse girl?
Yeah, I think there's some
there is
contestant
someone
who's
on a horse.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
'cause
She is riding a horse on a beach at one point. Yes, you're right.
okay.
Yeah. All right.
I just wanted to. So
Yeah,
in
the horse
in
girl.
the discourse of like vegans, okay. Are we talking? I get to your question. We might be talking about the same person.
Yeah, horse girl vegan.
I think so,
baker?
yeah.
Yeah. There's probably only one.
Yeah.
I mean, I love seeing it go more mainstream. Like I've been vegan since 2003. So, a hot minute. And back then people didn't know how to say it. People didn't know what the fuck it meant. And I mean, still you get that, but it's night and day. And so it's so lovely when anything not totally insane about vegans gets any kind of national attention.
And that's the best part of watching it is that they're judging the bake for if it's delicious, if
Yeah.
it's what they're looking for. There's no cheap jokes that are hack bullshit about
Yeah.
vegan. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is just, and they're also letting her compete with everybody else. And there's no like they're not giving anyone more or less of an edge. It's just like, can you bake delicious food?
Yeah.
And is it what we're looking for? And that's the best.
Well, and that's what I want food to be judged on. Like, is it good?
Yeah.
Does it happen to be vegan? That's fantastic.
Yeah, this broccoli. I keep opening the broccoli Rob
Yeah.
page, and I'm like, that's
one of
my
my
favorite veg.
Yeah,
I
that's like one of my
love
favorite
that.
recipes in the new book.
When you go to New York for your book signing
Yes.
in Union Square, Barnes & Noble, I imagine?
yeah.
Probably. Will you go to 11 Madison Park?
Honestly,
Are you interested? Do you think it's a gimmick?
I do think it's okay.
We both have conflicted feelings about this.
Unless somebody has a history of cooking delicious vegetables, I tend to not trust them with vegetables because I can tell when somebody's cooked food that they like to eat. And I can tell when they've cooked food to check a box. And I'm like, oh, why would you think I want I want this. Like, why would you, you know, and sometimes there are chefs who you don't have really meat heavy restaurants who do have a love of vegetables. And you can tell by the sides that they have on their menus and all the other things because they didn't start doing it recently.
Like Ottolenghi.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, amazing. I'm not saying that people who cook mainly meat or stuff can't cook vegetables, but there is a difference of people who like to eat vegetables and people who don't like to eat that way.
Yeah.
And if you're just, first of all, the menu is extraordinarily overpriced. I understand that you're trying to get a specific clientele, but if you give me a hollow out zucchini with like quinoa in it and you're charging me $45 for that fucking course, like you can eat a dick. Number one.
Yeah,
Number
the,
two.
the pricing
Yeah,
is insane.
yeah. Like I, where is the value? Because it wasn't in time and it wasn't in like creative recipe development. Like honestly,
I can't stand when I go to a restaurant and the vegan option is just as expensive as the non-vegan option, sometimes more. That shit drives me. I'm like, your overhead.
but
on
like,
this
I want to
is
see, like,
lower.
show me the value then. Show
Yeah.
me the value. Or do something really inventive and crazy. But I just don't think that they are the leaders in the vegetable cooking world. And I feel like they really just like tried to vault themselves to that position. And I don't think the work was there. That's just me.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll change my mind.
There's a lot of like.
You want to comp my meal? I'll see. I'll be honest.
There's a lot of self-hoisting.
I'll eat crow if it's vegan.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
you
mean,
also, sorry, but like you also when you talk about the overprice, this is the first time I've thought of eating vegan food as being a wealthy experience. Like, and if I went to a restaurant and I had to choose between something that's like $40 in vegan and like $28 in not, I'm gonna hit that $28
Yeah, for
thing
sure.
every single time, and that shouldn't
It's-
have to be that way.
This is a side. What we're currently talking about right now is a side of veganism that we have been railing against since our first book, since before the first book, when we created the website. That we were like, plant-based diets should not be elitist. They should not be expensive. They should be accessible. Food should be democratized. And like Michelle was
Beans
saying,
and rice, guys. Beans and rice.
yeah, most countries around the world who are impoverished or they're vegetarians because of the culture, like these are dishes that are like
Everybody
have
has their
been-
version of beans and rice.
Yeah, had just been part of the culture for fucking a millennia. You know, like only in the last 100 years or so have we become so centric on like having an animal product in every single fucking meal, and it is the center of the dish.
But in this country, without the subsidies that our government provides, the meat and dairy industry, like we couldn't afford to continue to eat like this.
Yeah, it'd be like triple what it costs in the restaurant. There's no way.
Yeah, and so it is frustrating when we see vegan entrees where I'm like, guys, for real, this is like a curry with rice and everything else on your menu is $150. Like, why are you charging me like this is a rice and spices you already had because I can see them in your other entrees. Like, where's the overhead?
Speaking of spices, that's another thing that pisses me off. Since we're talking about what grinds my gears, is I fucking hate when I go to a restaurant and I'm like, oh, like, do you guys have like any plant-based options? Because like I'm looking at the menu and it's just like they don't have anything, and they just outright are like, no. Every single time, I'm like, yes, you do. You're just telling me we don't take anything off menu. Like whoever's in your kitchen.
People.
No, I don't want to be a pain in the ass, but whoever's in your kitchen can grab some fucking veggies, season them, saute them. I don't give a shit. Like I'm not picky.
Right.
You know, y'all have grains back there. I know that y'all have non-dairy creamer and all the other things. Like, you have those ingredients. You're just telling me that whoever's in your kitchen, you don't have enough faith in them to do that.
I mean, I just think vegetable literacy should be a bigger part of modern culinary
how many
programs.
fucking more cookbooks do we need that are like 101 ways to cook chicken? You're like, who gives a shit? Everyone has 1 or 2 chicken recipes.
Every place doesn't need to have a vegan option, but people need to get more comfortable, cooking vegetables. Like, this isn't the 1950s anymore. Like, we can do some shit. Like, everybody should be encouraging greater vegetable consumption. It's better for the planet. It's better for us. Like, it's only wins. Just fuck it. Spices are vegan. Like, use them.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be little cubes of carrot and little frozen peas that are in like a compartment on a like TV dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to have boiled Brussels sprouts. We're way past that as a society.
Thank Jesus.
Yeah.
Because that's what I grew up on.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. Boiled liver and boiled Brussels sprouts.
I mean, listen.
yeah.
I
I left home at 16, okay? No joke.
Do you leave your farts behind?
No, it took me a few more years to figure that out.
Yeah, no, dude, my grandmother, she used to eat cow's tongue all the time.
Yeah, I had tongue sandwiches sent to school with
Oh
me.
my
I was
God.
not popular, guys.
Yeah.
Super not cool.
Yeah. I was just a giant. I was a huge child, and I was like the only redhead. So everyone's like, "Who the fuck? What the fuck?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm a lot."
I want to get baby pictures of all of us to put up with this app.
Let's do it.
Yeah, done and done.
Want to wrap up?
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
November 9th.
November 9th.
Yeah.
Everywhere books are sold.
Pre-order online.
Yes, please. And then you get a free ebook if you go to our website. put
Vice
in-
House.
Yeah, it's a ebook we wrote. It's 15 new recipes that don't exist anywhere else, and it's all Southern food like Texas ice houses. So we got hush puppies in there. We have a Dr. Pepper braised jackfruit barbecue sandwich, which is fucking ridiculous.
So like real quick, in Texas, I don't know if you guys are familiar with ice houses. Do y'all know what those are?
No.
Yeah, most people don't.
Picture a roadhouse.
It's like a roadhouse, but they essentially started because they would have these giant blocks of ice. The neighboring community, everybody would go there and they buy their ice for the week and they put it in their deep freezer, and that was before refrigerators, you know. So ice houses were trying to keep people there, so they started selling like bags of chips and sodas and stuff like that.
And so a whole
And then-
food culture emerged.
Yeah, 7-Eleven actually started as an ice house in Texas.
Whoa.
So like they became convenience stores, but then because people like wanted like real food, they had these like short order kitchens where they were like, we'll make burgers and fries and things like that. But because it was Texas centric, it was all Southern food.
Yeah, it's like Southern mixed with Mexican food, just like very unique kind of cuisine in Texas.
Yeah, and I grew up on ice houses, and I love ice house food. So when we created the ebook as like a pre-order incentive, I was trying to describe to Michelle,
Well, my
like
dad's
a pulled pork sandwich,
Well,
you know?
no.
Yeah, right.
Like
My dad's from Oklahoma. My mom's from North Carolina. Like, I'm no stranger to Southern food myself. And so it was really nice to have Matt have an experience of a slightly different cuisine. And then we just kind of mashed up family recipes and things like that to come up with this ebook, Vice House. And that is available if you pre-order our book. Just go onto our website, you put your information in and where you pre-ordered it, and you get the whole ebook. And it has cocktails, it has desserts, it has it's 15 different recipes, and that's for free. Just as a thank you
Yeah.
for supporting us.
so, just an ice house is all vegetables, Vice House.
Come on.
It wrote itself.
Yeah.
Fuck yes, I have a dream of getting super fucking high with you guys.
Yes.
And making some of your recipes, and then I don't know, maybe serving them to you. That would be weird, but I would love for
No,
us to all hang out and for us to cook and get high and hang.
Don't look at me like I might be
looking-
against it.
Well,
And Mike's the
not
reason
looking
it hasn't
against
happened.
it. I need an affirmative.
People always are like, "Oh, would it be weird to cook you your food?" I was like, "Not. You're like guaranteed
would
that I like
fucking
it.
love that.
I wrote the recipe. I'm into it."
Yeah, like when I'm around friends and family, like when I went to Texas to see my family, and I like get there and it's like 11 o'clock at night, and they're like, "Hey, so what's for dinner?" I'm like, "Do you have groceries here?" I just walked in the door. I don't even got my knife roll unpacked. Like, fuck. Could you imagine if you're like a CPA and every time you hang out with people, they're like, "Hey, by the way, just like before you leave, can you do my taxes?" Yeah. It's just like, fuck off with that, man.
Oh, you're a
It's
doctor.
like, why-
Could you look at this mole real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah. It's like we're gonna hang out. It's like, oh, do you mind if I do your taxes this time? I would love for you to do my taxes. I'd love that.
Hell yes.
Oh, well, it was so nice to see you guys. Thanks for having us back. We really appreciate it.
Fucking great to hang out with you. And please, let's hang out and get high and eat food off pod
It's
Very
a
down.
lifestyle.
real soon.
Yeah.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Later, y'all.